Hello and welcome to the May 19th, 2022 edition of Let's Talk Sullivan. My name is Michael Brooks, the Vice Chairman of the Sullivan County Legislature, and with me, as usual, is our Chairman, Robert Doherty.
Hey, how are we doing today, Michael?
Good. We have a few issues we want to talk about that came up this week during our legislative meetings, and we'll get right to it, and we'll start with what we are calling Ban the Box. Rob, explain that.
Okay, so ban the box is, on applications, and currently in the Sullivan County government applications, there's a box that you check that if you've ever been arrested for a crime, blah, blah, blah. So we're trying to, and we accomplished that today, we were able to get rid of taking that box off because we don't want people to fear applying for a job. So we want to encourage as many people as possible to apply for a job, and then there'll be a background check after you're considered for employment, and if the crime didn't have anything to do with what your duties are going to be, then you would be hired at that point. So it's to encourage people to apply. And
important to note that the background checks will be done if the person is picked as a potential candidate for hire.
That is correct.
So next up is there was at today's meeting there was some resolution regarding the Delaware company.
Correct.
Could you elaborate on that?
Okay, so that resolution had to do with taking money out of an account that's currently in the Delaware company's account. We no longer run Fort Delaware. So we were taking that money out to put into an account, to put it aside in order to pay debt down the road. So it's just moving some finances around to be better prepared for what we feel is an oncoming recession. And so we want to be prepared so that we don't go into this recession unprepared and start bonding money like every other legislator in the past has done. We don't want to be like every other legislator. We want to be able to be prepared for these events, not to have to bond money, which costs money to do, and cost the taxpayers more money in the long run. So we want to be prepared so that we can keep our tax levy as low as possible and be prepared for any potential recession that might be on the horizon.
As the folks of Sullivan County know, we're going through the legislature, and the county is in the process of negotiating a few contracts. So we just today, May 19th, passed a resolution regarding an MOA with the county and the probation teamsters. And Rob, could you give us an overview of that resolution and that MOA?
Sure. So the probation teamsters, they are teamsters, but they thought that they had different needs than the main group. So they broke off years ago and they negotiate things that are pertinent to them. It's not always about money. There's a lot of issues involved also, time off and work days and other things that, because they are on a 24/7 situation, they can be called out at any time, or they can do checks at any time. So they tend to be, they have different issues than the main Teamsters. So that's our third contract. There are 7 bargaining units. That's our third contract that we have settled, and we're looking forward to dealing with the other 4 outstanding contracts in the next couple of months.
And this MOA that was passed today is for the time period, if I recall correctly, from January of 2021 through December 2025. So last up today, Rob, is something that comes up every 10 years after the census is complete, and that is redistricting. Will you please, for the folks, explain how the redistricting process will work this year?
Okay, so this legislature, this is only the 4th time in this legislature's history that we've had to draw lines for legislative districts. So obviously, we did it the first time, and then 20 years ago, we had to do it again, and then 10 years ago, we had to do it again. And the process, from my understanding, has been different each time. I want to create the standard on how to do this. I feel that the public has the right to know all the information possible when looking at these maps. And then they can voice their concerns through emails and communications with the clerk, going to meetings and other things. So this is how this one's going to work. So we contracted with a company, Main Street Communications. I believe the gentleman's name is David Heller. And we had him, Zoom in last week, and we spoke to him about how the process works. And he was, pretty, he does this every day. This is new to us, to most of us. Alan Sorensen and Ira Steingart were on the last one. So last time they got 3 maps, and they didn't let the public see the 3 maps, and they decided on 1 map. And then they just gave it to the caucuses, and then they voted, in the caucuses, which is in private, which is not in the public eye, and then they made a resolution for the 1 map. We're not doing that this time. This time, all 3 maps will go to the legislators first, and there's 4 other people involved in that. That's county attorney, the BOE commissioners, and the clerk. Oh, and also Chris Knapp from Real Property, so 5 people. And then on the following Wednesday, so we get those maps on June 18th, and then on the following Wednesday, Dan Hoos, our communications director, will make them public to everyone, so everyone will be able to see them. And then you can start making comments. I've talked about this ad nauseum in this forum and on the radio, in newsletters, that there is going to be massive changes on the western end of the county. The geographic size of districts are going to get much bigger, and on the eastern side, the districts are going to get significantly smaller geographically speaking. The mean is 8,593. Federal law allows for a 10% variance of that, so obviously it's 850 people, which is a pretty big variance. Some towns in this county are not 850 people. So, and some are just barely bigger than that. So, in the town of Thompson, you have, I think, 5 of their 10 districts are bigger than that. We want to make this as transparent as possible. Joe Perillo had said that he had made the point that if anyone contacts him, Mr. Heller, he's to contact Josh Potosik, the county manager, who is the appointing authority on this issue, and then he would have to inform the rest of the board that someone had contacted Mr. Heller. There will be no modifications. I want to say this again. No modifications to the maps once we select it. The way the maps come in, they'll be numbered 1, 2, and 3, and we will vote on the maps. The first map to get 5 votes is the map. That is what's happening here. We're not doing it the way we did it in the past. 20 years ago, they ain't like the 3 maps. They paid another $25,000 of taxpayer money to get more maps. Well, however those maps come in, that's how they're going to be voted on. First one to 5 wins the race. We're hoping that, the first map that gets votes will have 9 votes. That's what we're hoping for. We're hoping that everyone understands that there's going to be huge changes, and we're going to accommodate people as much as we can. One of the things that we specifically asked for is not to have any political data in there. And that's a big way to get gerrymandering involved. And that's why we opted not to do that. And Mr. Heller was very clear about that. If you just go with straight data, you don't know who's a Republican, who's a Republican, who's a Democrat, who's a conservative. You don't know any of that information. He has no idea. He just knows head count. And then he creates the districts accordingly. He's going to try to get it between 2 and 3%. But one of the things that we asked them also was not to change any of the 64 voting districts that we currently have in the county. We as a legislature feel that the BOE, the Board of Elections, is overworked by some of the ridiculous restrictions and very complicated rules that the governor, the last governor and this governor has put on them, and we're not interested in overworking, the Board of Elections on this issue. So we're gonna keep the 64 voting districts intact and just be able to move the map around so that it accommodates, the mean of 8593.
Yeah, I mean, it really is a straightforward process.
Correct.
When you boil it right down, because this is driven by census. This is driven by where people either have left or have moved to, and and when you think of it in those terms, it really is a straightforward process. And what Rob just laid out, I mean, it can't get any clearer than what we're looking to do, and any fairer in what we're looking to do. And because I think anybody who's been reading the papers recently, just to see what's been going on in the state, that's an example of political gerrymandering. So, and that's something that we are not going to be going down. And thanks for laying that out for the folks.
No problem.
'Cause that's pretty darn clear.
I'm very passionate about the redistricting. I want it to be as fair as possible. Some people talk about, oh, you want this or you want that. I think you should be able to run in any district if you're going to run on your record. If you put me in Mr. Brooks's district, I'd be able to run on my record and say, this is my record, vote for me for A, B, and C. If you put me in, Nikki Salamoni's district, you should be able to win down there as well because you're voting for my record. And I think everyone that's proud of their record, they don't care how the map winds up, because at the end of the day, the voting district that you vote in, right, one of the 64 districts, they have to give you that one, obviously, because that's where you live. And then they have to give you surrounding ones. So if you're not comfortable in your hometown running on your record, maybe this job just isn't for you.
That was said perfectly. And whenever election time comes up and folks, if they decide to run and they've been part of the legislature before and they want to get reelected, it is all about your record. It is how you conduct yourself. And no one elected individual should be worried about some of the minutia that can come from redistricting. You have to be comfortable in your skin, if you will, comfortable with the decisions you made and how you conduct yourself. And I think positive things will follow if you're comfortable with that. So, Rob, that's for this month. That's the topic.
That's it.
So,
don't forget to watch part 1, my interview with Laura Quigley. It's a fascinating interview. She's an amazing person, and I don't know how she wears all those hats. It's very impressive, and be sure to watch that.
And that kind of goes to with our Commissioner McAndrews, we talked to last meeting, just the caliber of folks that we have here at the county, and that's just a couple examples.
I absolutely agree.
Today, May 19th, we had the valedictorians around our county from all the school districts come here, and they were recognized. And it's always a special time. It is amazing to see the young people that went to school here and to hear their accomplishments and where they're going, what their plans are beyond high school, and to see them as a group here, and to see our education leaders here as well. So we had all the superintendents. We had Bob DeFore, our BOCES superintendent here, and the principals and some family members. And just to see that group dedicated to learning and to excelling, it's always something I know I look forward every year, Rob.
Oh, absolutely. So do I. You get to see, the best and brightest of the next generation, and Sullivan County's future is very bright.
So on that positive note, it's once again congratulations to all the valedictorians, and just to all the graduates. It's we've come through a rough couple of years when it comes to school and a lot of remote learning and a lot of the challenges that came with that. But nevertheless, there are students who look to excel and people who look to be the conduit from which those students can excel. So thank you once again, and congratulations once again to our valedictorians across Sullivan County. So with that, thank you, Rob, and until the next time, bye for now.